National Sourdough Bread Day. Hartford Baking Company is here to celebrate. I'm with the owner, Scott Kluger. Thanks for being with us.
Hi.
And I'm really glad you're here because a lot of people have been wanting to get in on the sourdough bread craze. Maybe they're not sure how. And there's a lot into it. There's a lot
There's a lot of science.
Yeah,
there's a lot of technique.
which I think is fascinating. So I'm glad that you're here. You're going to break down the science for us and also show us what we need and how we kind of grow and continue to grow our own sourdough. Yeah.
So yeah, this is our sourdough that we use at the bakery. This is 15 years old. You basically feed it
And I
every
was
day.
like 15 years old.
And there's some places that they have it longer. Like if you go to what's the big bakery in San Francisco, I think.
So do you remember where you were when you first got your sourdough 15 years ago?
Living in my parents' house before I started the bakery. On my parents' counter, you basically just take equal parts flour and water and let it sit for a couple days, and then you'll start to see bubbles, and the bacteria gets in from the air, and then you just feed it. You cultivate it basically.
It just grows. 15 years later, here we are.
Feed it every day. Yeah.
And so now you're going to take part of that original. And we're going to make it a starter.
And we're going to make another one. So what you can do, and we have this, like if anybody wants to come to the bakery and say, hey, I want some sourdough.
Really?
We'll give you a piece.
You're sure about that? Because you might have a line for me outside the bakery now.
We make like 100 kilos a day, and we throw some of it away.
Okay.
So like if anybody wants any, just tell the manager you want some, and we'll send it down the next day.
Really? All right. That's awesome.
So it's a little messy. So this is called liquid levain. So it's equal parts flour and water. It's very wet. We're going to take a little bit of this. You really don't need a lot.
Okay.
And then we're going to take equal parts flour and water. And the best way to do this is really with a scale. So I brought a little kitchen scale because you want to make sure when you're doing bread and you're doing baking, you want to be super accurate.
Okay.
So we're going to do just, you don't need a lot. Let's call it like 100 grams of each. It's like 100 grams of water and then 100 grams of flour. And then you're just going to mix it together. And it's going to make like a paste, and then it'll let it sit at room temperature for a day on the counter. And you'll start to see it look more like this. You'll start to see all the little bubbles and everything. And then it's just a matter of, you can keep it in the fridge if you want to. If you don't want to have to feed it every single day, you can keep it in the fridge. Because if you keep it cold,
let's talk about the maintenance. How often do you have to feed it?
It's really a matter of time and temperature. So the warmer it is, the faster it grows, and the more you have to feed it. But if you want to put it in the fridge, it's going to grow slow, and then maybe you only have to feed it every 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah, and then if you'll see like brown liquid on top of it sits for too long. It's like hooch, like alcohol, like fermentation. That just means you need to feed it. You need to feed it more.
And then what do you do with that brown liquid? You try and
just pour it off.
Just pour it off.
Yeah.
And then
so
add the flour.
basically, like that's it. And then add equal parts flour and water. And then as you go, every couple of days, you take half of this out and you feed it with new flour and new water. And then what you do with the part you take out, you can make biscuits. We do a sourdough biscuit at the bakery. You can do sourdough pancakes, sourdough waffles, basically anything. It can take the place of anything yeasted or anything that uses baking soda.
Right, so there's a lot more you can do other than just bread.
There's a lot you can do,
yeah. Now what would you say is there any tough parts that you have to remember, or just the feeding part?
It's just the feeding part, really, and making sure that you're getting like equal parts flour and water. That's really it. I mean, there's nothing much. And then just looking at it and getting to know when it's healthy. So like if you see a lot of bubbles on the top of it, that's really, really good. If you see it's like super thin.
So what do the bubbles mean? Because it's
that just means, so that's
a lot of the sugar from the flour?
The bacteria is spitting out CO2.
Okay.
And that's the fermentation process.
Yeah.
So it's like beer, basically. So like it spits out CO2, those are little bubbles, and that CO2 is what helps the bread rise. So you can actually do this in place of yeast.
So there's a lot of science. It's fascinating, really.
Yeah.
Now, before you go, I want to talk about your new location.
Yeah, South Windsor.
That's really exciting in South Windsor, and it's the first and only drive-through in the state for bakery.
Yeah, so like we did research. I can't find another like full-service artisan bakery in the country that does like a drive-through, and you can get the full menu. You can get artisan breads, the egg sandwiches, coffee, salads, pastry, everything.
That's awesome.
And it's quick, and it's very convenient.
And you're working the window, I see. On occasion, right?
Yeah.
All right, Scott, thanks for being with us. This has really been fascinating.